Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are really in for a treat today. Delynn Miller joins us again. I was one of the founders of Pursuit Institute, but today she brings a very special guest, the other founder, Dave, her husband. So excited to have you here. How are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for having us again, Jill.
Well, thanks for being here. My goodness, Pursuit Institute, cc.com. Also, you're an author, Delynn, and we're going to talk about the work you're doing, and you're helping so many people. I'm just really excited to see you, Dave. I've heard so much about you, your family, your journey. So amazed by you, and your story is just inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been one hell of a ride the whole way through over, especially like the last 2 years, just going through the shift myself, being alongside Delynn with it, starting multiple businesses and everything that we do. It's been awesome.
Well, we're excited to have you both. Tell us a little overview of the company and what you do for new time listeners today. And then I know we're going to dive into a little bit about growth mindset.
Yeah, for sure. So at Pursuit Institute, we specifically have really made it our mission to bring people together because personal development, it's hard to believe. And for me, because I'm like immersed in this culture and Dave and I are both immersed in this culture, that only 5% of the world know anything about personal development or do personal development. And of course, like I wrote this book, it just launched last month. It's called You Can't Mess This Up, Embrace Imperfection, Stop Overthinking, Take Inspired Action. And I'm going like, okay, like 5% of people will be like, ooh, I need to get my mitts on that book. And that's okay. Because I mean, 5% of however many people are on this planet will take it, right?
Yeah.
But there's a big part of bringing people together. It creates this group consciousness. And that's really what we've been on a mission to do with Pursuit Institute. And that's even what I was really wanting to do with this book as well, because, you know, not joining a course or a community may not be your jam, but picking up a book might be your jam, or listening to a podcast might be your jam.
Yeah.
And it's just like diving into those spaces. And I can say, I thought our topic today was a perfect time to bring Dave in because Dave was actually into personal development long before I was. Like he was reading the books and he was listening to the podcast and he was doing all the things. And I would watch him, but then like most people, he wasn't, it was kind of like you call it like a dopamine hit, right? So explain that.
Yeah. So for me doing it, I got into it, like I would listen to it while I was working out. I'd listen to it while I was running, lifting weights, doing whatever. And I fueled off that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like this accelerated dopamine hit. I was working out and I was listening to personal development. I figured I had everything figured out. I wasn't studying it. I wasn't truly like taking it and taking action on it. So I realized I was feeling good in the moment from it.
Mm-hmm.
And that might carry me through for a couple hours, a couple days, a couple weeks, but then there's always like, I wouldn't call it a crash and burn necessarily, but I come from an emergency services background and things were always constantly evolving or changing. And it just took one thing to kind of throw me off. And I'd go back to my old way of thinking. I was never like truly like a negative mindset thinker, but I would get myself stuck again. I couldn't see the way to get out. So when Delynn walked away from her corporate world, started doing this full time, and really she showed me actually how to study it and how to actually implement it into my life and see those positive changes all the way through. And I truly only probably started that 2 years ago. And when that happened, that's when the momentum came. That's when the big shifts came. That's when the big life, everything overhaul kind of came. And unlocked opportunities for me, unlocked things of what I do now, you know, primarily as my focus. I work alongside Delynn with the Pursuit Institute, but I have my own stuff that I work on. And it's been a game changer for me.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I think you guys both have to just establish for new listeners your journey and your story, how you picked up. Could you just share what happened to you personally before we talk more about growth mindset? Because this is like, wow, this is very brave. Go ahead. Tell us what you did.
Well, for me, I, like Dave just said, 10 years ago was when I was like, all right, I'm supposed to step out of this box that I've kind of put myself in, even though it was like, had the cushy government 6-figure job with all the pension and benefits and all the things, but it wasn't what I was meant to be doing, and I felt it. So I stepped away from it, started working in the mindset world full time. Dave at this point he was a police officer and was doing this thing, but very passionate about it. And it was so cool. Dave is a brilliant, you hear people talk about manifesting. He looks at something and he's like, I want that. And then he gets it. It's
Aw.
incredible to watch. But he did that throughout his entire policing career.
Yeah, I did it before as a police officer. When I knew that I wanted to be one, like I'd see a police car, I'd put myself in it. I saw it, I'm like, I'm gonna have that, I'm gonna get it, right? And I did that throughout my policing career too. I spent 8 years on our tactical team.
Yeah.
I knew when I wanted it, I aligned myself with it, I went and got it. And then when I left that, I moved on to working in our intelligence unit doing street crimes and human trafficking investigations. And I knew that I wanted that. I just put my mind to it. And that's kind of like, I've just always been able to attract in these opportunities. And I never really realized it when I was doing it. I just figured I was grinding it out or doing the hard work and doing all the things. And it just, that was the result that I got. That was my reward. And I didn't realize how easily I always attracted things into my life. So through the pandemic, Delynn and I, when you lost that ability and freedom to travel and do all these things, I really started viewing my career as a police officer in a different way. I wasn't sure if it fully aligned with me. I wanted to do other things.
Yeah.
And just one day I go online, I'm like, well, let's explore some, maybe some travel, let's consider just a change. But it was like, we're talking about it. And all of a sudden this opportunity just popped up on my computer, moved to Barbados. It was called the welcome stamp. We could come here, live here for a year, work. And I was like, what do we have to lose? And that was kind of the deciding factor when we decided to take action on it, because we sold everything, sold our house, sold our vehicles, packed up our kids and moved here. We involved them in the decision to see if they wanted to, and they were down for the adventure. But it was like, what happens if we don't do this?
Mm-hmm.
If 10 years goes by from right now, are we going to look back and go, hey, remember that time when we could have moved and gone and lived on a tropical island for a year?
Yep.
And that now was going on almost 2 years ago. And here we are, right? We've made this our home. And it's just, I think, brought out the best in both of us for doing both what we do now.
And I think that it contributes to the growth mindset, right? Like I was saying to Dave the other day, I loved where we lived in Canada. But there was a lot of noise. It was a small town, but a lot of noise. And that's the way society kind of is, right? I'm like, I literally feel now I don't have to work so hard to be in my own lane, because I'm literally living in an island in the middle of, the Atlantic Ocean. So I don't have to, I can stay in my own lane. It's so much easier. And this is where your environment matters. And for some people, it might not be, maybe a big city inspires some people, and it does bring out that creativity in them. Everybody has their own scene, but it's having enough awareness to go, this is my scene. And you can have different spaces for different parts of your life. I mean, when I was in my 20s and, partying it up in university and doing all the things that I was doing, I couldn't imagine, outside of coming to an island for a week and partying it up, I couldn't imagine living here, right? It just wasn't it wasn't the stage.
Yeah.
And it might not be our forever choice, and that's okay. But it's having enough awareness to go, is my environment putting me in the mindset that's actually going to move me forward? And that's where I remember Dave coming home one day and being like, I don't really feel like policing anymore. And again, he's 15 years into this super cushy 6-figure government job with all the bells and whistles. And he's like, it's not lighting me up anymore. And parts of it did, but 5% of it did. And the other 95 was whatever. And it was just okay, the first question, what do you want to do then? Versus don't feel like you have to do this, because, it's whether I come from a hospital background, but again, I see lots of people in that environment too, working in it because they don't feel like they have any other choice. And then they, that's when you get everybody's had a doctor or a nurse or physiotherapist or a police officer or an ambulance attendant or somebody that's okay, you clearly hate your job. Why are you still in it? But they're in it because they feel like they have to, and they have no other choice. But things start to shift when you start to give yourself permission and ask yourself, what else can I do? Because this isn't the whole, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I actually hate that saying. It's
I
so
hate
gross.
that, but I get it. I get it. I get it.
But there's more than one way to do this life. And it's not the hustle it out for 30 years, do something that you hate, so then you get to live the good life. You get to live the good life now. You get to do on purpose work now. You get to do that now. And you get to have it all.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, thank you guys for sharing that. But I know we have a lot more to talk about at
Yeah.
Pursuit Institute. And by the way, it's pursuitinstitutecc.com. Understanding this fixed versus growth mindset, techniques for developing growth mindset. And again, more about your story. So, what role does mindset really play in achieving success, would you say?
I would say it's everything.
Yeah.
It's belief.
Yeah.
Right? It's, you know what, so many times, when lessons come through or there's, evidence that it's happening, we just go, oh, that was expected, or, oh, that's a one-off or whatever. And we don't really actually take time to open our eyes and go, whoa, wait a second here. Like, that's actually in alignment with something that happened. Or
Yeah.
like when you really start to look at it and kind of connect the dots, looking backwards at it, you see how just things all kind of can come together for you if that's what it is that you want. And I've been on both ends. Like I have brought in pure crap to my life by my mindset when, and I shouldn't say pure crap, but I mean, it's all
I know
lessons
what you mean. Yeah.
to me, and really a lot of negative experiences that I went through in policing where I was like in that mindset. There was a point in time when I was doing that career where I felt I was only happy when or if I was experiencing really bad things. And that's kind of how I started to self-identify myself. And when I realized that's not normal, that's not the normal way of thinking, and I really started to work hard on my own development. Like I would think those things even while going through my own personal development journey. And so that's why, I was like, oh, it's a dopamine hit. I feel really good now. And then I would bring or attract some weird crazy thing and through policing into my life that I'm like, oh, that's not normal. And so when I realized you can do it both ways. You can do it for good or for bad. And now like you just utilize that. And I think people just really don't realize that it's constantly happening in their life. They just figure out it's just the way things are.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we become like content consuming machines, right? So people are listening to this podcast right now and they're consuming. They've read the book, they've watched the show, they've read the other book, they've done all the things. But it's like, are you actually doing something with it? And I have a section, I'm just going to read it from, you can't mess this up. It says, I pointed out, I said, throughout my life, I've been an avid enthusiast of personal development. I devoured books, soaked up countless podcast episodes, and eagerly attended seminars. You could say I was obsessed. If you'd questioned whether I possessed a growth mindset, I would have emphatically replied, absolutely. Yet, if you had delved deeper into my internal dialogue, my health, and my bank account, you'd find that my outcomes didn't align with the level of growth that I believed that I should achieve. I was in essence out of balance. I was a content consuming machine, but I failed to realize that mere consumption without subsequent action yields minimal results. It was a stark realization that prompted me to reevaluate my approach to personal development and growth. In my pursuit of personal development, I once attended a transformative 4-day workshop that was led by a high-profile mentor. Maybe some of you listening have also been to this workshop. So the energy and it was inspiring at the event, and it was electrifying. I felt like I could conquer the world, and my enthusiasm knew no bounds. Every day was filled with powerful insights, motivational speeches, and strategies for personal growth. By the end of the workshop, I was in an emotional high, ready to take on the challenges of life, whatever it threw at me. However, the real test came when I went home. Armed with pages of notes and a full heart of motivation and a head buzzing with ideas, I was ready to tackle my to-do list with my newfound vigor. But as I sat down at my desk, reality hit me like a ton of bricks. The list seemed longer than ever. The tasks felt overwhelming. Doubt and anxiety crept in, and the energy and determination that I had felt at the workshop started to wane. It was gone. And like, this is what happens is we take all this information in, and we take all the notes and do all the things. I used to do
Yeah.
this. I used to go to my company's conventions, and I would take all these notes, I would do all these things, and then I wouldn't do anything with it, or it would
Mhm.
take me months to do something. And so a lot of the strategies, and I mean, what we've talked about before, is
Yeah.
it comes down to going like, are these strategies that they gave me, are they for me?
Yeah.
Are they meant for me? Are they meant for me to do something with? And based on your awareness, you get to decide what that looks like, right? So even Dave leaving policing and saying, you know what, I want to actually
Wow.
take this to the next level, and I want to like do my part, the part that I believe I'm supposed to be doing in the human trafficking world. And it wasn't an accident that all of those things happened for him initially, right? It's just now going, okay, do I have enough awareness to do something with it?
Got it. Wow. Inspiring. Thank you so much for that. And by the way, let's just remind everyone all the ways we can reach out to you all at Pursuit Institute. And I know you two other founders, but there's so many other people involved that can help as well, right? You're part of a big network of people.
Absolutely. So you can go to pursuitinstitutecc.com. On it, you can connect with Dave and I both on social media and all the platforms. And you can grab my book up there, and you can download the app that we have as well. And if any of this is resonating and you're going, okay, I too have been consuming like all the things, but I'm not actually getting results. Your
Hmm.
results tell the story every single time,
Got it.
every single time. So if you're like, but this is my goal and I did what they told me to do with my goal, but it's not happening, you're not in alignment with it. So it's being and then doing and then having, and not the opposite way.
All right, good. Thank you for that. Get it, get it, get it. What else do you want to share? Because mindset is huge. You're trying to help inspire people, and I shouldn't say try, you are, and you're living that as well. And do you want to share some more of the examples of that fixed growth mindset? And would love to hear some more examples too.
Yeah, we have so much going on. Like Delynn explained with Pursuit Institute, we've developed a network of coaches, right? We're continuously bringing on new coaches, whether it's something they're experiencing for the first time in their life, or they've gone through one of our transformative programs, and they're like, hey, I want to help more people. I want to do what you do. And this is so in alignment with me, right? So we bring them on and we help them develop their own coaching business. Anybody that comes on as a coach with us, whether new or they have their own existing business, they remain their own entity, but they have all of our support, the access to our programs, the access to our services, and the support of all that we do, so they can help build a successful personal coaching business. We've recently gone on to begin doing a lot of work in the corporate and organizational world as well,
Okay.
both in a couple different realms. So when I left policing and when we moved here to Barbados, I took on a role of working in business development with Delynn and helping create systems. I have a background. I've been in the health and fitness industry as well, owning and operating several different health clubs over the last 20 years. Out of that world, out of that business now, but I started that when I was about 20 years old, prior to ever becoming a police officer. And so I took all those years of experience and helping people and developing systems and sales and service
Mm-hmm.
systems and helped implement them into Delynn's. And I knew for myself that I wasn't done with policing I was done with it in like its most figurative terms, but I wanted
Okay.
to still help people. And I was getting a lot of questions from people, from former coworkers who are like, well, I don't understand how you're doing what you're doing. Like, how can you give up this job and this pension and all the things?
Uh,
And I knew I wanted to always be like attached to helping other people, children or adults that were vulnerable, youth that were vulnerable. And so one day I just sat down, I just started like writing out like all these different roles that a police officer has and what are different ways that they could help serve people. And that's when I hit one, I was like, and it just made sense. Like the second I had wrote it down, I knew instantly that's what it was. And so now I've built a business that focuses on helping parents and youth in preventative strategies for internet child exploitation.
got it.
human trafficking awareness, but we're now expanding this and we're actually offering it to companies as part of employee wellness training and employee engagement training.
Wow.
Having employers provide the training for the moms and dads that work for them, the grandmas, the grandpas, doesn't matter, the aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters. I have a friend who has a child and I want to be able to help them. Having employers be able to provide this education for their employees, for them to be able to take it home and feel as though they have a little bit of a sense of empowerment over protecting their children online. It's a huge worry of parents. Like, I know this from talking to so many parents, especially since embarking on this journey. They're like, it's such a needed thing. They just don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
And so we developed and created a learning management system, which is, fancy for e-learning model that allows employers to provide their employees training in 20 to 30-minute short courses that parents can then take home and use to implement to help put more preventative strategies for them, for their kids in front of them, right? There's every single day, there's over 5 million online predators that exist. 500,000 are active every single day. They know how to go on, and they just don't go on and be like, hey, Jill, we just been talking for like 3 minutes, like do this or that. Like, they will spend weeks, months, up to a year building a relationship with a child in order then to obtain a self-exploiting photo or video of them, and then use that to financially extort them. And there's a massive fallout when it comes to that, right? It causes depression and anxiety in children. It can lead to substance abuse, and far too many youth have taken their own life because they don't see a way out, because somebody's now kind of holding them as a digital hostage.
Yeah.
This can lead to trafficking. It can lead to so many things, right? And less than 15% of parents actually know what their kids do in the online world. So when their kids, take the iPad, or, I get it, like TV was kind of my babysitter growing up, but it was in a room and it was on TV and it was kind of controlled what was being sent to me. Whereas kids have it, like online predators, like, I tell parents, like, when I grew up, I used to have to be worried about the stranger in the park, or if my mom took her eye off me in the grocery store or something like that. Online strangers are being invited right into your home now. They're in your kitchen, your living room, they're in the backseat of your car while you're on a road trip. They're in your kids' bedrooms, because wherever kids walk around with a piece of technology and they're talking to somebody online and parents don't know what they're doing, just the doors of susceptibility are being opened to their child being harmed online. And we're talking about youth, but adults actually make up 56% of the population.
Wow.
Sorry, 54%. Youth are 46. Adults, 54% of those who are financially extorted online through what's called sextortion schemes.
It's a whole thing, Jill. I know, I can see the look on your
Yeah.
face.
I'm like, wait, what?
What? And this is so when Dave was in policing, I was big on protecting my mind. Like, and even during the whole pandemic, I'm like, everybody out there is wearing masks and quarantining. I'm like, I'm quarantining my mind. And then now he's so passionate, as you can see, with it.
Yes.
Because it's a huge issue. And I remember him coming home when he was working in this space and as a police officer, and he was just like, the resources and the things that are required to like get it done and really get to this ground level aren't there and aren't set up in the system. So this is where, again, when you have the mindset of like, and just the awareness to go, I know I can do something with this. It doesn't matter how it happens, when it happens. It's just about being in the environment that is going to propel you to move forward. And now this mission that he's been on, it's amazing what's happened with it just over the last year. It's just growing and growing and growing. And it's called Pursuit Pathways, is that sector of the business. And it has an app as well that is going to be launched soon. And it is an app that parents can actually download to help educate their kids.
We believe in safety as a habit. So beyond like the online world, we run personal safety courses, situational awareness training, emergency response preparedness, de-escalation techniques. So I've taken so much of my past life and implemented it now into education for online and personal safety. But the backbone of what we do is the online child exploitation. That's our future mission, is, seeing a world where it doesn't exist. And we believe in safety as a habit. So rather than just taking one singular course and going, okay, I've taken the course, like, we forget things.
Yeah.
And so if we build into the habit of practical scenarios through the app, engaging people in short, fun things that they can do and test their kids on, it keeps kids engaged with it,
Yeah.
helps them with learning, right? So maybe on another podcast, I'll go deeper into this.
Would love to hear more. Well, we still have 3 minutes left today. What else did you guys want to add?
I love it. I love it. The key is, and I mean, out of hearing the whole story, it's understanding, and this is the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Like a fixed mindset thinks that everything is, it's fixed. It's just, it has to be this way. Whereas the only natural thing for us to do as humans is to grow and evolve and, dare I say, change. I know some people don't like that word, but the fact is that's the natural thing. And if you look out at nature itself, it's constantly changing, it's constantly evolving, and we're no different as humans. And so if you're listening and you're in something right now that you're going like, I like this, but I'm not obsessed with it. I'm not, it doesn't make me want to, jump out of bed every morning. Then give yourself permission to go, and what if I took the aspects that I do like and put it over here? Right? That's what I did with the work I was doing at the hospital. That's what Dave has done with policing. And now we spend our days only doing the things that bring us joy. And then it just grows from there. We then attract in other things that'll bring us joy. And the best part is what happens is your results start to then reflect what it is that you set out to do in the first place.
Beautiful.
And I can say from a male's perspective, and, I know men generally, more men are closed off to this way of thinking or line of work. Total game changer for me in my life. And it's not hard to consume it. It's not, right? It's about spending a little bit of time and energy with it. And it's just a game changer. The biggest thing I've talked to guys doing, I'm like, what do you have to lose? If you're not happy with what you're currently getting, what do you have to lose by trying a different way?
Got it. Exactly. And how do we get started to start trying it a different way? How can we contact you?
Yeah, so go to pursuitinstitutecc.com. Dave and I are both linked up there. You can email us, you can follow us on social media, and grab up the book. You can't mess this up. And download our app, Pursue You. It's on Apple and Google Play.
And pick up a copy of the book.
Yeah, you can't mess this up. Embrace imperfection, stop overthinking, and take inspired action.
Oh, thank you both for being here today. Pleasure getting to meet you. And thank you both for everything. This is exciting, the work you're doing. And thank you so much again for being here. Have a great day, okay? Bye-bye.
Bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.